to Tai Chi. Everybody ready? Let's warm up. Hands at our waist, turn your neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stretch your neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Expand your chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Waist exercise. Stretch out those arms. Turn your hips and waist. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Airplane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Touch toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your hips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Be careful. Shift your weight. Kick your foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kick your butt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heisman, opening up our span, parallel feet, choose one side, sit on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shift your weight. Tai Chi posture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Short one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good Tai Chi posture for a good golden cockerel. Dropping those shoulders, tucking our butt, hollowing out our chest, opening up our span. Head erect, spine straight, tongue on your palate. Think through how we're going to be a golden cockerel standing on our left foot. Here we go. Center, up, counterbalance, golden cockerel. Set. Kicking out now. We're at 50-50. We're going to kick out with our right. Shift your weight to the left. Kick out. Last set. Holding our ball on the T stance. Rooting down on our back or right foot. Left foot ready to go. Left hand, bottom hand advances. Here we go. Out on an L. Move that energy up and across. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Right, right. Out into an L. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Ball and T. Ball and ball. Here it is. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Hold your ball on a T, out on an L, move that energy, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball on a T stance, out into the side, here it is. Sit back, sit down, pivot, ball and T, listen carefully, out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Flip the forward hand and join it. Cloud hands. Sit back, sit down, pivot. 12 o'clock stem cup. Open step, 9 o'clock. Flip hands, closure stance. 12 o'clock middle or cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Flip the hands, open the stance. 12 o'clock middle or stem. Only flip the hands, use your hips and waist, middle or cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, close the stance. Middle or cup. 9 o'clock, flip the hands, open the stance, middle or cup. 3 o'clock, only flip meet, shift your weight up, Golden cockerel. Kick out. Tonight's lesson, grasping of the bird's tail, going to our right. Out on an L, use our forearm to push your opponent away. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands, drag down the bird's tail. Look back, sit back. Turn, contact at your wrist to push that energy out. Separate, roll back, spiral up and forward. Sit back, sit down, left hand on the bottom, hold your ball on a T stance, left, left. Out onto the side, ward off, forearm your opponent. Turn your hips and waist, cross the bird's tail. Sit down, sit back, look back. Turn, square contact at your wrist to push that energy out. Separate, shoulder width away and roll back, and roll forward. Apparently closing. Sit back, sit down, pivot, open, in, tuck the right hand inside the cross as you embrace your tiger, as you rotate on your wrists, bring them up, palms are facing, push out with the energy of your left wrist, palms go down, shoulder width away, drop your shoulders, make yourself small. As you close your forearm. Okay, let's practice one more now, okay? How do you multitask, okay? Let's do a multitask. On a T, left hand parallel, right hand higher. Like this, right? All right, here we go. Ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, parallel higher on a T, ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, parallel higher on a T, ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, parallel higher on a T, ear, heel, hand, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, hold your ball on a T stance, mixing up, part the wild horse's mane. Here it is. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball on a T stance, out into the side, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball on a T stance, out on an L, move that bottom hand, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, listen carefully, pivot, hold your ball on a T, we're going to ward off. Out on an L, push your opponent away. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands, drag down the bird's tail as you look back, sit back. Turn, square, contact at your wrists, push out that energy. Separate both hands shoulder width and drop down to make yourself small. Then spiral forward. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand on the bottom, left foot ready to go on a T. You're going to ward off. Out into the L, push your opponent away, use your forearm. Turn the hips and waist, drag down the bird's tail. Or pull down your opponent as you sit back and then turn again and push him out again. Separate your arms, roll back, spiral forward. Sit back, sit down, pivot, open, in, tuck the right hand inside of the cross, rotate on your wrist so that now your palms are facing you. Push out with the energy of your left wrist so that both palms are facing downwards, shoulder width away, dropping those shoulders, making yourself small. As you close your forearm. Okay, so you can see that even with lesson 7, we're very near the end, okay? And it was good that we learned golden cockerel and kicking out right from day one, where we use them as warm-up exercise. I'm going to start with learning the new movement of grasping the bird's tail, and then go back and review cloud hands. In grasping of the bird's tail, there are two small movements that put together the total movement called grasping of the bird's tail. So sometimes the first portion, or the first of the two movements, sub-movements, are called one, warding off, and then you grasp the bird's tail. But out of expediency, the whole movement is called grasping of the bird's tail. Unlike all the other movements, grasping of the bird's tail starts on the right. You recall that brush knee, parting of the wild horse's mane, all started on the left. The reason is that we're nearing the end, and we want to start on the right because we're going to finish off on the left, and then we're going to close. So that's the main reason, okay? So I'm going to show you how to grasp the bird's tail in the two elements, two sub-movements. I'm on a T stance. I hold my ball, no different from how to part the wild horse's mane. I come out on an L. I use my bottom hand to forearm my opponent away. I can now turn my hips and waist, reposition my hands so that it's staggered palm to palm, and I pull down the bird's tail. And my hands go for the ride in that I'm using my hips and waist and the power of my back foot to bring him down. I contact at my wrist and I push out my energy. And I widen out to my shoulder width. I bring my energy back down and I spiral up forward. Then I would have to then close, okay, because I should have started that way. All right, so we'll try it now, starting with our right, and then we'll come back and we'll break it down even more. So now we're getting an overview, seeing the bigger picture first, okay? All right, so we're on a T stance, right foot ready to go, right hand on the bottom because it matches our right foot. We're rooted down on our left, therefore our knee is flexed because our energy is stored there. We're going to take an L stance and we're going to forearm the opponent by using our forearm. So you're going to use this portion to push him away, but not push him so that you're out of Tai Chi posture. You just need a little distance, like give me my space, okay? Here we go. Right foot, insubstantial. Right hand on the bottom, holding your ball on a T stance. Out on an L. Push your opponent away. Give me my space. Turn your hips and waist. Reposition your hands. Palm to palm. The right hand is higher. The left hand is lower. As you sit back and sit down, the hands go for the ride. You look back because that opponent's back there. You turn your hips and waist. You push your palm flush to your wrist and push it out again. Separate shoulder width away. Drop down, make yourself small. And spiral forward. Hands go for the ride. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Left hand on the bottom, left foot insubstantial, holding your ball. We're going to forearm our opponent, ward him off. Out on an L, push him away, give me my space. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands. Drag down the bird's tail as you sit down, sit back, hands go for the ride. Turn your hips and waist, contact at your wrist, push them out. Shoulder width away, roll back, hands go for the ride. Spiral forward. Sit back, sit down. Here's a drill. Twist step, right hand on the bottom, right foot ready to go. We're going to grasp the bird's tail by first taking an L, forearming our opponent, turning our hips and waist, repositioning our hands, and hands go for the ride as our energy pulls back, turns our hips and waist, firm at your wrist, push out, separate, roll back, spiral forward. Sit back, sit down, left hand on the bottom, twist step, hold your ball on the T stance. We're going to grasp the bird's tail, first warding off. Out on an L, push him away, give me my space. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hands as you sit down, sit back, look back. Turn, square, contact at your wrist to push that energy out. Separate shoulder width and roll back. And spiral forward. One last set. Sit back, sit down, pivot. Right hand, right foot ready to go. Grasp, ward off. Turn the hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Contact, push. Roll back. Spiral forward. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Ball and T. Out on an L, push, turn, grasp the bird's tail, turn, contact, roll back. End it with holding the ball on a T-step, okay? All right. So this is what you learned. Time when I do it, I'm going to call out keywords and I want you to see how the words matches the form. I'm going to grasp the bird's tail by first warding off. I take an L stance. I push out and power him to push him away. I turn my hips and waist, which allows me to then reposition my hands to sit down, sit back, look back, turning my hips and waist again, power at my wrist to flush him out and push him out, making myself small and pushing him one last time. Sit down, sit back, twist step, root down, hold your ball. Out and to the side, push him away, give me my space. Turn my hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Hands go for the ride. Your mind, your core, turning of the hips and waist, allow you to do that. Okay, take it in one more time. There's so many things to look for, but we're looking for the bigger movement, bigger muscles, then we'll fine tune. getting ready to do it together now. Going to the right. Right foot ready to go, left foot posting or grounding ourselves, rooting down, right hand on the bottom, right foot ready to go, holding your ball. Think about what you're going to do. We're going to grasp the bird's tail, but first push our opponent away by warding him off. Out on an L, push him away, give me my space, turn your hips and waist, reposition your hand, sit down, sit back, hands go for the ride, turn, square, push at your wrist to push him out, roll back, make yourself small, and spiral forward. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand on the bottom, holding our ball in a T stance, out on an L, push and ward off. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, drag down the bird's tail, look back, turn, square, contact, push at your wrist, shoulder width away to roll back, and spiral forward. The drill, sit back, sit down, pivot, right hand on the bottom, right foot on a T, out on an L, give me my space, turn your hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail, look back, sit back, turn, square, contact, push, separate and roll back, and spiral forward. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left foot, left hand on the bottom, out on an L, forearm and then ward off. Turn the hips and waist, reposition your hand, sit down, sit back, look back, turn at the waist, push him out, roll back. No words this time, just use your mind. Putting words now. Hold your ball in a T stance, out in an L, forearm them away. Turn the hips and waist, reposition hands, grasp the bird's tail, look back. Turn, square, contact, push at your wrist, separate and roll back, and roll forward at eye level. Sit back, sit down. Left hand on the bottom, on a T, out on an L, forearm him. Turn the hips and waist, drag down the bird's tail, look back, sit back. Turn, square, contact, push, separate and roll back. Sit back, sit down. Right hand on the bottom. We're going to grasp the bird's tail, out and to the side, ward off. Turn the hips and waist, grasp the bird's tail. Contact, push. Make yourself small. Spiral forward. Sit back, sit down, twist, hold your ball. We're going to grasp the bird's tail, first warding off. Turn the hips and waist, bring down the bird. Turn, square, contact, push, roll back. No words. Ending with holding your ball on a T stance. Okay, very good. Let's string it along now, okay? Let's put it through with our 10 form. And then we'll come back to it and then we'll revisit the cloud hands for sure, okay? Good Tai Chi posture, Yang 10 form. Grow a little taller, okay? Whatever it takes to grow a little taller, making that spine and the neck and the head very straight. But don't forget to dip your chin downwards slightly, okay? Commencing form. Open. Rotate. Up. Deep breath. Push down. Tuck those elbows. Drop those shoulders. Center. Raise higher. Look. Open. Ear. Turn. Repulse of the monkey. Slide. Center, higher glance, open, ear, turn, meet, slide. T-stance, we're going to multitask to brush your knee. Ear, hand, heel, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, parallel higher on a T. Ear, heel, hand, turn the hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball on a T stance, out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball on a T, out on an L, bottom hand advances, here it is. Flip the forward hand, join the other. Sit back, sit down, pivot, 12 o'clock, cloud hand, pivot out, 9 o'clock, flip meet, close your stance. 12 o'clock, middle or cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, open the stance. 12 o'clock, middle or cup. 9 o'clock, only flip meet. 12 o'clock, cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, cup. 9 o'clock, open, flip. 3 o'clock, only flip the hands. Use the hips and waist, up, golden cockerel. Down, right hand, right foot up. Left foot, left hand. Holding our ball, right foot ready to go, right hand on the bottom, holding a T. Out and to the side, we're going to grasp the bird's tail by first warding off. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands. Hands go for the ride. As you look back, turn square, then contact at your wrist to push out. Separate and roll back. And roll forward. Sit back, sit down, pivot, left hand on the bottom, on a T. We're going to out on an L to ward off. Turn the hips and waist, hold down the bird's tail. Sit back, look back. Turn, square contact, push. Let's finish it up. Sit back, sit down, pivot, open, in, embrace the tiger, tucking that right hand inside of the cross, rotating on the wrist so that both palms are facing you now. Push out with the power of the left wrist, separating, shoulder width, dropping those shoulders, flexing your knees, hands go for the ride, up on your heel, off the ground, toe down, heel down, closing form. Okay, and so when you end now, never are you out of Tai Chi posture. You can slowly come up, but you still remain in Tai Chi posture. You do not end and then just come up any old way. Okay, stay in your Tai Chi posture. That's nicer. All right. I didn't get to see you, but every time I look at the video when I'm editing, I think, wow, you folks are making a lot of progress. And it looks smooth. It looks like you enjoy yourself. And that's what Tai Chi is all about. It's, you know, getting acquainted with your body, getting acquainted with the movements that are very, very foreign when you first start, and just getting familiar and getting the bird's eye view, getting the general gist of the movement, and then putting it together. Once your body is warmed up and it's conditioned and your mind is tuned into it as to what the movements require, then it somehow gels together and you can then refine it. And granted, it is very difficult, okay, very difficult. So something like this requires a period of time rather than just a few minutes or even 15 minutes, okay, a period of time. We said, if there's no question, would go over and review cloud hands, okay? So in cloud hands, we know that our feet have to be parallel. And we also know that the toe leads the movement rather than the heel leading the movement, which is, to me, very risky and dangerous. So we have to always remember that the feet are always in line with the tiles of the floor. That's not too hard. It gets more complicated when we put our hands, but beyond that, the transition to get into cloud hands from parting the wild horse's mane may be a difficult thing, so we're going to review how to do that. Okay? We also learned that when we do our hands, we know that something happens at 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. We know that one hand, always, the palm always has to be away from them, and that's the outward hand. Whereas the inward hand, the palm is facing us. And we know that there are two levels. The hand that's facing us is higher. But we know that once we get that, the hand flips and turns, so now the other one takes its turn. Okay? So maybe I should stand this way. We said that the hand palm that's facing us is the higher hand, and the other hand, the palm is away and it's the lower hand. When we make these cloud hand movements, the hands go for the ride. They are going because they are moving only because what? Our mid, hips, and our waist are making that turn. It's our core again. So whenever you find yourself moving and the hips and waist are not moving, the hands are not going for a ride. They are purely moving alone, which is not Tai Chi. So although we put emphasis on how our feet are going, how our hands are going, everything is being moved by our mind and our core, our hips and our waist. So when we do this exercise, what are we doing? We're warming up for our Tai Chi movements. They're connected, okay? So you need to use what you warmed up. So let's just practice now, okay? So left hand higher, palms facing, right hand lower, palm away. Move to the middle, which is cup and stem. Why do I call that? The bottom hand, which is the right hand, sits 2 inches below your navel in a cup position, as if it were holding a cup or holding a ball. The stem is your left wrist to elbow rather than a sideways motion. It's allowing the fingers to point at the number 12. At 11, 10, I use my hips and waist, and I flip my hands, and the bottom hand takes the top position. Stem and cup, and just ask yourself, do you have a cup, and do you have a stem and cup? Stem and fingers pointing. Flip the hands. 12 o'clock, stem and cup. Flip the hands. Stem and cup. Flip the hands. We also said that when we flip our hands, we also move our feet. So getting back to the first part now. Open, because we flipped our hands. When we flip our hands, we have to do something with our feet. We close. When we go to the 3 o'clock and flip and meet, we have to open. Middle or cup. Only flip the hands. Middle or cup. What do we do with our feet when we flip our hands? We can close our feet. Middle or cup. 9 o'clock, we can do something. We flip and we open. Okay? Now, in a drilling situation, it's forever you can do what we just drilled on, what we just said, because there's a pattern. But there's also a pattern for cloud hands within the 10 movements. But we don't have the liberty to drill. We have to be more specific. To get into cloud hands is one thing, and to get out of cloud hands is very rigid, very circumscribed, and you have to follow it. So we said that we would have done the last parting of the wild horse's mane. Can you just watch? And I know you're good listeners and watchers. We said to flip the hand and join staggered hands, opposite, palm facing, palm away. I'm on a bow stance. I sit back, sit down, and I didn't even move my hand, but they're attached to my body, so they're doing the same thing. When I twist, my body turns. When I twist, my hands go for the ride. I'm at 9 o'clock, what do I have to do? Flip and do something with my feet. 12 o'clock, stem and cup. Using my hips and waist to get to the 3 o'clock, flipping my hands, do something with my feet, middle or cup. Only flip meet. Middle or cup. 3 o'clock, flip the hands, join the feet. Middle or cup. 9 o'clock, flip the hands, open the feet. So that is the circumscribed thing about cloud hands, okay? So we're gonna practice that. We're gonna part the wild horse's mane to the right for the final time. Right hand, right foot ready to go. Here we go. Root down. Out on an L, bottom hand advances, part the wild horse's mane. Flip the forward hand, bring the back hand, the lower hand, palm is facing you. On a bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, stem and cup at 12. Pivot out to the 9 o'clock, close the feet, flip the hands. Middle or cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, open the feet. Middle or cup. Only flip the hands. Use your hips and waist, 12 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, join the feet. Middle or cup. Use your hips and waist, 9 o'clock, flip the hands, open the stance. 3 o'clock, only flip the hands. Shift weight, out of cloud hands, transitioned into golden cockerel. Is that easy? It's getting easier then. Getting easier. They did okay? See, if Ken says you did okay, I know you did okay.
I just want to remind you of a few things in terms of movement in Tai Chi. And some of you heard that before, but how we move when we move beyond just standing in one position is linear movement, forward, back, side to side linear movement, but also rotatory movement, turning on an axis. That's why they talk about moving your waist. Tai Chi definition of waist is not the English definition of waist. English definition of waist is this upper portion, right here. Tai Chi waist is from here all the way up here. So when we say turn the waist, and you're in Tai Chi posture, but that's the rotatory portion. And cloud hands is a very good example of linear and rotatory motion, as many of the other things that you've already learned. You just have to take it apart and as we do it and learn and understand. But say if we're starting from this position here after we've done the last parting of the horse's mane. We're coming across here. So this is linear as well as rotatory. Rotatory, linear, rotatory. Coming back, rotatory, linear, rotatory, rotatory, linear. And when she says coming for the ride, if you were to just, the part that you get your attention is switch hands. So if I just switch hands, that's sort of the mechanical analysis of cloud hands. And when we say it's going for the ride, we're saying the core of the body is doing most of the work. The finishing is with the hands. And from a practical standpoint, if you draw an analogy of a whip, okay? This guy does this, and the whole whip is going for a ride, and the tip is just floating. But as it gets farther and farther out, the speed of the tip of the whip that's where the business end is. For instance, if you were to do the practical aspect of cloud hands is bang. Catch the guy, come around this way, going slowly, bang. Okay? But it's moving, your hands are moving. Now the tendency to, when we say come back, people sort of, the back leg is straight-legged. When you first start, it's a necessity because you don't have the power to sit down. But this is where the power eventually is what you want to have. You are totally centered. And then when you come forward, this is, the strength of this leg is kicking you forward. And the hands are going for a ride. The hands come here, they could stand here and the last minute they just do this. But what's happened? The total excursion of the body went from here to here. And the hand didn't have to do this. You're down here because the body. So when she says sit back, literally try to sit back. It's not easy because your thighs will start to hurt. But as you get more strength, you're able to do that. For instance, in grasping the bird's tail, I'm all totally on this leg. Then I come out here, and what did I do? My hand just came up, just got the position. My body went from here to here. Turn my waist to get in position. Come back, and I sit back, and all I have is my hooks on the person. Grasp the bird's tail. This is the grasper. This one just guides, or if you were really trying to grab somebody, you grab him by the wrist and you're guiding him, but you're pushing against his elbow. The hands are at this distance, not as an arbitrary like this, pulling together. It's one on the wrist and one is for the elbow. You've got him, and what do? You don't yank him. You just hold his position and you sit back. And it's from this position, you're sitting back. Okay, and you get him back, and you're down here, and you come back this way, here, and then what happens? Push this way? Not always. That's not the business end. The business end is from here, and then you finish off. The flap of the whip is, and that gets your attention, but what really started the power of the whip is open. And the same thing coming back. You're coming back and you're trying to push the person down. So you drop your shoulders, you drop your elbows, and what does that take? Core muscles, that's what we're working on. And then you have to sit back. Core muscles of the leg and the buttocks. And you're dropping this person down. Now what are you going to do? Now you push him forward. All you have to do is cock your hands up, going for the ride. Okay, so try to remember as you get on, when you turn, every time you turn, you're shifting weight. And when you shift weight, you try to bend that knee. That's where the power is.
So when you ward off, you're centered, and you push the opponent away right in the middle of your body. You cannot grasp the bird's tail until you turn your hips and waist. Make sure that the only way you can grasp the bird's tail is to turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, and come down. So we said that there were two parts to a whole, two sub-movements to make grasping of the bird's tail work. One is ward off. One is ward off. Give me my space, but don't give me my space so that I'm going to fall, right? It's martial arts. You don't want to bend over and can't get out of your Tai Chi position. So that's the reason I said, well, all we need is some space. Give me some room here. So you're going to ward him off, push him, turn your hips and waist, and then grasp. So this is the ticket to allow you to grasp your bird's tail. If you do not turn your hips and waist, you cannot grasp your bird's tail. Let's try that, okay? Anna, going this way, okay? Right hand, right foot, ready to go. We said now we're centered. When we push our opponent away, we have to flush him out, centered and looking at the wall of the clock. Out on an L, push him away. To grasp the bird's tail, you have to turn your hips and waist. Hands go for the ride. Sit down, sit back, look back, turn, square, contact at your wrist, square, push off, separate, and roll back. And the energies in the back foot is pushing us forward. Hands go for the ride. At this position now, make sure that the tips of your finger are not curled down. They're pretty much elevated so that your eyes can see the tips of your finger. I don't want them rolled down, okay? Because that's a little negative right there. You want to be outward. Sit back, sit down, pivot. Left hand on the bottom, left foot ready to go. Center yourself. We're going to ward off. Out on an L, move that ball. Push him right in the middle away from you. Give me my space. How do we grasp the bird's tail? Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands. Now sit back, sit down, look back. Turn the hips and waist if you can look back. Turn, then square, contact. Push again, turn that hips and waist. Let's practice it a little bit more, roll back. And spiral forward, making sure those tips of the finger are at eye level and not rounded and curled down. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, right hand, right foot ready to go, centered. Out on an L, move that ball, push him away. Turn your hips and waist is the ticket to then sit down, sit back, look back, turn, square, contact at the wrist, center, push, roll back. And all this time your hands are going for the ride. Let's finish it off. Sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball. Out and to the side, Push them away. Give me my space. Turn hips and waist. Hands go for the ride. Look back. Turn at the waist. Turn again at the waist to push. Separate and roll back. And spiral forward. Let's finish it to the end. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Pivot. Pivot in. Tuck the right hand inside of the cross. Turn at the wrist so that both palms are facing you as you elevate. The power of the left wrist pushes out that energy so that the palms now are downward. Drop your shoulders, tuck your elbows, flex your knees, make yourself small. Up on your heel, off the ground, toe down, closing form. Come up a little bit, keep in your Tai Chi posture. Good job. Okay, good job. See you next time.